So today we will discuss web development. So there are three layers in web development normally. The UI is what we called front end. What is user interacts with, that's called front end. It can be built via React, Angular, Knockout. There can be much more technologies. It's usually JavaScript, HTML, and CSS based. And after that, we have backend, where we receive the request from the front end and send back any data to be rendered on the front end. It can be written in C#, Java, Node.js. There are quite a bunch of technologies which you can use here as well. It can be an RESTful API. It can be a WCF API. It can be an MVC application. And it can be a Node API. It can be a GraphQL API. So there are different types of APIs which are used to communicate data from database to front end. GraphQL is from Facebook. RESTful APIs from Microsoft, WCF, and RESTful APIs. And then we have data server. It can be SQL, Oracle, NoSQL, document-based, etc., etc. So this is our main architecture of a website, how it is written. You can have more than one data server. You can have more than one backend. You can have more than one front end inside, within a front end, within a website. There can be microservices type of architecture, so that your independent components are not dependent on each other. Like if chat is broken, it does not affect your whole website. So that's what microservices is. So we are discussing about technologies which are used for backend today. That is Python. Python can be used to build APIs and APIs using Flask API, and it can be also used to build front end as well using the Django. So how you are using your Python, that's totally based on your requirements. Python can be used bunch of other places as well. Let's see what is Python and why we need to learn it, why we will want to learn it. So Python basics, what and why. Python is a popular programming language. It was created in 1991 by Guido van Rossum. Python is an easy-to-learn, powerful programming language. It has efficient, high-level data structures and a simple but effective approach to object-oriented programming. Python has elegant syntax, dynamic typing, together with its interpreted nature, make it an ideal language for scripting and rapid application development in many areas on most platforms. And what it is used for, as we just saw in our Miro diagram, it can be used for web development, for building APIs. It can be used for other type of software development like Windows applications. It can be used in data science. It can be used at various places in Azure platform, in DevOps, in Azure Functions, in Data Factory, Logic Apps, or data analysis and creating data flows. Python can connect to database systems. It can also read and modify files. Python can be used to handle big data and perform complex mathematics. Python can be used for rapid prototyping or production-ready software development. So I have just included a little bit of exercises at the end so that you can do a little bit more research on this area where you can use Python and in which fields you can use Python. What can you do with Python? And why Python? Python works on different platforms, Windows, Mac, Linux, etc. Python has a simple syntax similar to the English language. Python has syntax that allows developer to write programs with fewer lines of code than many other programming languages. Most of them use curly brackets, if you see, but Python does not use curly brackets at all for scopes. Python uses tabs instead. And if you go into Stack Overflow, they have this analysis of like how many questions and month by month data for a particular language they are getting. So from 2009 to 2022, if you see, Python popularity is grown on Stack Overflow. And there was on the top 2009 was C#, and it is at the bottom now. On 2022, it's at the bottom. JavaScript is going up as well, but Python is even more popular than JavaScript. The huge community forming around Python is improving every aspect of the language. More and more open source libraries are being released to address many different subjects like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and web development. Besides the tremendous support provided by the overall community, the Python Software Foundation also provides excellent documentation where new adopters can learn its essence fast. So let's go to Python basic syntax. So Python syntax compared to other programming languages, we will study here. Python was designed for readability and has some similarities to the English language with influence from mathematics. So it is quite mathematical in nature. So if you know English and mathematics, you are quite a good candidate to learn Python. Python uses new lines to complete a command, as opposed to other programming languages which uses semicolons or parentheses. Python relies on indentation using white spaces to define scope, such as the scope of loops, functions, classes. Other programming languages often use curly brackets for this purpose. Where in the other programming languages, the indentation in code is for pure readability, does not do anything. If you skip an indentation, your code will still work fine in other languages. But in Python, if you skip this indentation after if block, your code will break, because if block is not complete. It does not have any statement if you don't have this indentation here after if block. We can see this in action. Let's go to Jupyter Notebook online. You can install it on your computer. You can try it online as well. So we will just use this notebook online for now. This is by default. They have a bunch of things. When you first click on the Jupyter Notebook, but you can create a new empty file from here. So you just go there and click new notebook. It will load here. It will ask you which kernel to use. It has quite a bunch of kernel. Just use the preferred kernel for now. So if you see, we were having this statement, if 5 is greater than 2, which is definitely correct. If 5 greater than 2, you have to do double dot here for telling that this if block starts from here. Then when you enter here, it will automatically insert a tab here. This tab is necessary for defining the scope of this if block. So when you print anything in here, and you can run from here, 5 is greater than 2. This is printed out. But if we skip this tab here, this code will not run. This will say there is an error in your code. And it will give you quite decent message as well. So where is your error? It is saying on this line, print 5 is greater than 2. expected an indented block after if statement on line 1. So you need to indent this statement to make it part of if statement. Only then this code will work. So now it is printing 5 is greater than 2 as expected. And then comments. Python has commenting capability for the purpose of in-code documentation. So you can document your code so that others, when you have written some code, there can be quite complex calculations or quite complex code, like hundreds of 50 to hundreds of lines of code in one single method. Then when someone else will read your code, you need to explain what is this code block of code is doing. So we just put hash in front to create any documentation, like this code is comparing two numbers, 5 and 2, and printing a message to the screen. So when you write this with this hash in front of it, this line does not do anything. This is just for pure documentation so that when someone else will read your code, they can read this comment and understand what you are doing inside your code. So this will still just print 5 is greater than 2. This line is not treated as code. This is documentation, comments. We call it comments in programming languages. Okay, docstrings. Python also has extended documentation capability called docstrings. Docstrings can be one line or multi-line. Docstrings are also comments. Python uses triple quotes at the beginning and at the end of the docstring. So you can use multi-line comments with the help of docstrings. So you have to use triple quotes for that, for starting a docstring, and triple quotes for ending a docstring, or in between these docstrings, you can type any number of lines of comments. So this is a comment. This is a comment. This is a comment. So you can format your message into multiple lines with the help of docstrings. So even this, from here to here, this is a comment. This is not executed. So you can do some nice documentation with the help of triple quotes in Python. So when you run it, it will just run these two lines. These two lines are treated as code. Rest of it, everything is just documentation. Okay, so there are little exercises at the end of our presentation. You have to insert something here in the white space to make it output hello world on the screen. Type in comments, what do you think it should be? And here we have one more exercise. This example misses indentation. To be correct, insert the missing indentation to make the code correct. So again, I will say, if you are watching this video, just try to solve this in the comments. I will check definitely whenever I have time. And give your feedback if you have done correct or not. Comments in the Python are written with special character. Which one it is? So this is a comment. This is a single line comment. What will you insert here? And use a multi-line string to make the multi-line comment. So what should come here? There's missing part of this comment. What should you insert here? That's what the question is. So let's see who can solve this. Bye-bye. See you soon again with my next video.